I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Here we go. All right. This is going to be a good one. We got our man Ferdinand on the call. And man, this guy, I remember when he was starting the farm, AO, and we recognized him early as a high impact man. And I believe he's also the guy who initiated the first Santa Saunter, maybe. But we got our man Ferd on the call, and Ferdinand, welcome. And why don't you start us off with your, what was that first workout? Who EH'd you, and why did we name you Ferdinand?
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, Plague. I appreciate it. My first beatdown was at Paradise Island. I had been doing some triathlon training kind of on my own, a little bit with my father-in-law, a little bit with kind of a triathlon team here in town called PTG. But I worked with both Tony the Tiger's M and Trench's M at Pinnacle Bank for many years. And they were posting some pictures of these guys about accelerating, weight loss, really enjoying connections that they're making with these guys in this workout group. And they were posting it on Facebook. So I was curious what was going on, how these guys are losing weight, getting in shape, meeting other good dudes. And so I just reached out to both their wives, and I just said, hey, what is this workout group thing that now Tony the Tiger and Trench are involved with? And they told me it was F3. And that night I got a call from both Tony the Tiger and Trench that I was going to Paradise Island the next morning. And Tony Tiger lives within a mile of my house and came and picked me up, drove me to Paradise Island. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out who was on the queue, and I went back to Paradise Island's Twitter page, and I don't think it's even there anymore. So I don't know who was on the queue that day, but I just know there was like 40 guys, and it was a great workout. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I know Tony Tiger was upset because Trench got credit in our system, even though he drove me to the workout. And so that's that. Then how the name came about was, obviously we get in the front of all these men at the end of the workout, and they're telling me to share, something about myself. And I shared, where I grew up, family, kids, all that good stuff, and said that I used to rodeo. I college rodeoed for UNL and rode professionally. And then they asked me, well, what'd you ride? And I told them I rode bulls, and all these cool names are being spit out. And then I heard Ferdinand, and I heard that, like, I don't know who was yelling it. Somebody was screaming it like 4 or 5 times. And finally the queue said, all right, Ferdinand it is. And I had never seen the movie at that time. I've now since seen it about 1,000 times after that. But when I watched the movie, I was like, that's a great name. I've taken full ownership of it. I think it's a great name. And that's how it all came about.
That's awesome, man. I love the just the hospitality from our man Tony the Tiger. And there's rumors out there that he's not very good at EHing, but man, that was nice of him to give you a ride to the first workout.
Yeah, you're right. And then he took me to like my next 6 or 7 posts. He's like, I'm gonna, I live right here. We're both going there, so why don't I just pick you up? So he kind of, I would say, not only got me there, but then his kind of like, we had like a little group chat after that with our boy High Life, Trench, Tony Tiger, myself, and then that kind of has absorbed even more. But those are kind of the initial guys that we were kind of part of this little group chat of who's going where tomorrow. And Tony Tiger would say, well, since we live so close, how would I just come pick you up? I'll be here at your house at this time. And that kind of, I would say, really kickstarted me into starting to post more and then be able to go on my own. But yeah, he was all about it. He was making sure I was there every morning and posting as much as possible.
Awesome. I did find that infamous back blast from October 14th of 2020.
You did.
Really, I was the Q that day of Paradise.
You were. How did I not remember that?
Yeah, we did. Looks like kind of a traditional. Well, not quite a burpee island, but yeah, that was. So I found it. I'll have to send that to you.
I would love to see that. Yes,
yeah,
and that is no wonder it was hard because I'm sure we did burpees every half a mile.
Well, it looks like we only did 20 burpees to start, so that's a pretty low number for me. But yeah, the COT was vision without execution is just hallucination. That was my message that day.
I love it.
So you mentioned doing some triathlon training, and I mean, gosh, from a fitness perspective, you got to be in decent shape to do bull riding, right? I mean, how were you before you started F3? Were you already in pretty good shape, or where were you at?
So, bull riding shape, and as I've come to realize, everything has its own shape. There's your guys like Plague and Duracell that can do 1,000 burpees. But you ask your boy Duracell to go run 6 miles and he's probably going to be hurting. Now Plague can go run 6 miles just fine. And then you got other guys that, like myself, you ask me to do 100 burpees and I'm going to be just drained, but I can happily go run 6 miles, no problem. So I think, I was in triathlon-ish shape, where I could swim and I could ride a bike and I could run, but the throwing weights in the mix, I remember my first coupon workout just destroyed me. My body was just not ready for something like that. And, just the so many reps of exercises, I think it's a whole different game on your body than what I was doing to bull riding was more of a balance. You really wanted to build core. You really wanted to have good balance. Muscular dudes aren't going to be your best bull riders. It's the ones that have really, really good balance, really, really good core, and, really good hustle, really good try. And, triathlon training, as riding a bike is a lot different than running, which is a lot different than swimming, and a lot different than weighted workouts. So I would say before F3, I was in decent shape, doing some of that stuff. But when it came to running a half mile, doing 20 burpees, running a half mile, doing 50 push-ups, Merkins, all this other stuff, that is when I was like, holy smokes, I'm not anywhere close to being in good shape that I thought I was.
Nice. So you've continued to just be more well-rounded, and you still do triathlons, right? I think there's normally a kind of an annual triathlon that you do that's for a pretty special cause.
Yes, I did my first half Ironman last year in Chisago Lakes, Minnesota. So there's multiple levels of a triathlon. There's a sprint, there's an Olympic, there's a half Ironman, and there's a full Ironman, and then there is a super sprint, which is even on more of your entry into it. So they all get longer. All the events, the swim gets longer, the bike gets longer, the run gets longer. And I did my first half Ironman last year, and that's a 6-hour day, nonstop, from the time that you start the swim to the time that you cross the finish line on the run. And then my cousin passed away 2.5, almost 3 years ago now, trained for triathlons. He was inspired by me doing some triathlons and asked about it and wanted to get into it. Thought it was, cool that it was kind of you versus you. And, you didn't have to be the best swimmer as long as you could do it. And then you could make up time on the bike and the run or vice versa. And long story short, he got into it and was loving it. And fortunately, he was training for a triathlon and passed away on a bicycle ride, leading up to as he was training for one of our triathlons. And we have now created a memorial triathlon for him, which is called the Ethan A. Rodig Memorial Triathlon at Flanagan Lake. It's always the first week of June. So this year is really, really special. June 5th this year, and our brother Roadhouse is going to MC the event, and we've got quite a bit of F3 guys that are either volunteering or competing, which is really cool. Love seeing the support that F3 is giving to come either volunteer, MC, compete. It's going to be a really, really cool event.
That's phenomenal. I love that. It just, I mean, yeah, I think that, as you're thinking about just high impact, you clearly were already, focused on others, kind of living third before even starting F3. And I noticed, so you started in October, and then very quickly did your VQ December that same year. So unlike a lot of guys, you were really quickly kind of hooked and then led for your first time. What was that like doing your VQ? Was that a unique experience for you?
It was really cool. I was at that time, we had for Sarpy County, which me living in Springfield, to get almost anywhere is a little bit of a drive. Outside of the farm now, obviously, less than a mile away. But at that time, we had Titan Alley on Mondays. We had the Sandlot on Thursdays, and we had the Pit on Saturdays. So those were the three semi-close ones that you would go to every week. We would Tony Tiger and I would usually jump in the same truck for a while until I think he could tell that I was committed and he didn't need to count on me to get in his vehicle. And then we would just meet there with obviously another group of awesome high impact men. And, Paradise was kind of our jam on Wednesdays to drive somewhere. And throughout this kind of process, there was talk about Tuesdays, because at that time, then we didn't have anything on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Fridays in Sarpy. And Knobs talked about, hey, what do you guys thoughts about the Papillion Monarchs, some high school to do a pop-up and maybe do a site there on a Tuesday? How many guys would be interested in coming to work out on Tuesdays? And, a group of us were like, yeah. So I think we did one or two pop-ups, and then the sanitarium was a thing, and that was awesome. And Knobs as soon as the site took off, he's like, he was big about making sure that sanitarium got as many VQs as possible. He was big on the VQs. I think he ended up having over 20 in the year that he was the site Q and started that site there. And I was one of them. So pretty early on in that process of getting the sanitarium up and running, he reached out and said, let's get you on the Q schedule. And I, just like any other person, a little nervous, scared, like, I got to make this whole workout. Like, how long should I make it? He helped me out, gave me some guidance, and showed me, where I could look for exercises and previous workouts. And I ended up doing a little more work than I thought it was going to be. And I ended up loading 2 huge tractor tires that my father-in-law had in his backyard in the back of my truck. And I drove them in the morning all the way to the sanitarium, unloaded them because we used tractor tires for the beatdown. And it was pretty memorable. I'll never forget it. We did kind of at the end of the workout, how we use the tractor tires was we had 2 groups and we circled around the tires and we did quick feet as a group. And in a circle, the next guy in line had to go flip the tire. And once the tire flipped, everyone dropped down into a burpee and got back up and did quick feet. And you just went in a circle nonstop until I think we got to 100 burpees. And it was kind of a race the other group. And once we got to 50, I think most guys were like out of breath. But I was like, I had this 100 number in my head. We're going to have to just do it. And it obviously the flips got slower and the burpees got worse, but everyone fought through, and it was I'll never forget it. It was awesome. Everybody was super. The best thing about F3 is the camaraderie and support that you get when you finish. No matter if you mess something up or miss something on the front end, as far as the core principles or the mission, credo, whatever it is, everyone's very supportive and making sure that you feel welcome back and that you did a great job, and please queue again, which is it's very great how everyone treats each other in F3, and I think that's what's so special, is that the workouts have obviously gotten a little more efficient and effective since then, but that one was a very, very fun workout that I'll never forget, especially it being my VQ.
Yeah, I feel like I was there, and I remember being like, this guy brought tractor tires all the way across town in the back of his pickup. I just thought we hadn't seen that before, which was pretty cool. So yeah, kudos on that BQ. Curious, as you're thinking about the 3Fs, so fitness, fellowship, and faith, what's been your experience or journey with the other 2Fs? I mean, with fellowship, you had some connections, but how have you seen F3 kind of steward those relationships and maybe even your faith?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kick it off with the second F. I mean, if a lot of guys don't know, F3 really changed my life in more ways than you can even imagine. I was in it. I started F3 in October, and by December 21st, I was in a new role, working with Tony the Tiger. And as you can imagine, that doesn't happen all the time. And that my current role wouldn't have happened without F3, without jumping in the truck with Tony the Tiger, getting to know him. I knew his wife, obviously, for many years. I worked for her and with her at Pinnacle Bank, but I wouldn't have got my current job without those mornings in the gloom, in the truck rides to and from the gloom, and without it. And that's my current role today. Is Tony the Tiger and I work together, and been working together ever since I started. After 2 months into my F3 journey, I started with Elemental, and it's just been terrific. Been good for my personal growth. It's been great all around for my family. I'm home more, and it's just been great all around. So that kind of the second F. I mean, I can't give F3 enough credit for what it did change my life for work and family, and what it's done for my growth from a work standpoint. Obviously the fellowship, I'm a firm believer in, you cannot have enough friends. You truly can't. There's so many great people in this world that we don't even know that exist. And that relationship could change our worlds and our lives forever, in a very, very positive way. And I'm a firm believer in make every interaction count. That's big to me. And I think F3 really showed me that no matter if you are, what your career is, if you are a blue collar worker, or if you are a head and neck surgeon, or like our boy K-Way, it does not matter. And anything in between. Everyone comes to the gloom in a Tesla, in a beat up car, in a beat up truck, whatever it is. And all that stuff goes out the window. And we're guys that want to get better, build relationships, make other men better, leaders, fathers, husbands, friends, brothers, you name it, be better in our community. And that is what I have appreciated the most since day one of F3 is the relationships and the continued relationships that just are ever changing. learning more and more about other guys that you're just starting to get to know, because you kind of have been at your main sites where it's a lot of the same guys, and then you branch out. And I queued the Armory a few weeks ago, and it was like, oh my gosh, these are like 20 to 25 dudes that I don't see very often, and these are guys I need to get to know on a more personal level and understand their lives and how I can help them, how they can help me. And because our lives are an ever changing, it's an ever working process. And we can always become better human beings. So that's been very, very awesome on the second F standpoint. The third F, I have been a guy that has, I've been baptized. I used to go to church as a young kid. I stopped going to church. I really didn't go to church a lot. And then my wife and I started going, and then the kids started, being cranky at church and that kind of crying. And then we're in this predicament of like, we need to be quiet, and our kids are crying, and it's like, holy smokes. So we gave it a shot and kind of have pulled back on the reins, more so because of like just the trying to just be able to go there and enjoy church, right? Enjoy being around other people, and learn and grow and learn more about Jesus and how to become better people. And so we haven't been at church in a while, and our kids are getting at better ages where now they can actually, there's kind of a kids care there that I think they can go to. And we just need to set the commitment and go back and get part of a church group and and just work on becoming better and learning more about that. And also, throughout the F3 journey, I've never done and never been a part of a group that's done as much as we've already done in just the short amount of time that I've seen since I've been a part of F3 is what we have done for our community. I mean, with Project Pink, Heartland Hope, donating blood, the Brick Builder event and what we're doing for changing young men's lives to help pay for college. These things are huge, and we as F3 Him can do this. We have the means to do it. We're not asking everyone to do it. Some guys have the ability to donate and do more than others, and that's fine. But the fact that we're coming together and we're doing stuff and we're making a difference is huge. And that's one thing I really, really appreciate about F3 is guys are stepping up to the plate, taking the bull by the horns, and they're taking the initiative to do some of these third F initiatives, and guys are getting behind it. And it's changing the lives of individuals in our communities. It's making our neighbors, our communities, our friends and family, it's making everyone better. And it's such a small piece of the puzzle to start making this world a better place. And the fact that we're just doing it, and we're not asking for any kudos, we're not asking for any extra attention, we're just doing it. It's pretty special, and it's awesome to see that just more and more of these third F opportunities and initiatives are stepping up to the plate, and guys are backing these individuals and making sure that these things are successful.
Man, that's fantastic. And thank you for sharing all that. I think, and I love the kind of subtle drops of, KOA. I think you maybe referring to the former, Jean-Claude in his Tesla when he would show up in that. But I do,
Yeah.
it's so fascinating, like this level of kind of anonymity in the gloom that, out in the professional world maybe would have prevented us from even knowing or being in the same circle as some of the guys. And here we are, working out, getting to build some really intimate friendships that have nothing to do with our profession. I've always loved that. And, I think one of the cool things that you have done, you were already doing some kind of third F stuff, right? With the triathlon that Jeffrey, your cousin, and then I think you just continued that. I feel like, very early on in your F3 journey, you had a beat down where you were kind of like, hey, let's see how many canned goods we can collect, and that eventually led into the Santa Saunter. And I feel like you and JC, or I can't remember who initially kind of got that going, but what was your experience there? I mean, was that just kind of random idea, let's run, let's collect some canned goods, and we got a ton of support? Because now that's a yearly staple around Christmas time for us.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I wish I could remember how it all transpired. I know the Santa Saunter, I believe, was an initial idea by our brother JC. If you can remember his Santa Saunter outfit and his upstairs living room doing his abs of Christmas.
Yep. Okay.
If you haven't seen that, you need to see that because it's off the chain. But no, like the Santa Saunter was, it was the half marathon and the 10K, and I believe we had a 5K option too. And it was at the pit, and I was just thinking, how can we make that better? And it was, we already have a group of guys that are going to come to this, and it's around Christmas time. No better way, no better time, that to give back to our community that needs it. And there is just so many opportunities like that, just like the blood drives that guys are stepping up to the plate and doing. Our communities are in need of canned foods, and it's amazing. The food bank of the Heartland, and then there's the pantry in Papillion that we did this last time go around. That families need these food pantries to feed their children, and it's mind blowing that we can do small things as far as go to the Dollar General or Walmart or Hy-Vee and grab 10 to 20 items as a group and change the lives of families in our community, that they can have they can get through Christmas with a warm meal. And it was amazing that somebody just needs to spit out the idea and run with it, right? And the backing in F3 is there. The leadership backs it 100%. The individuals, the PAX members get behind it, and things just take off. And so this last year we did the event. We did Santa Saunter at the farm, and we did it in conjunction with the Heartland Hope to provide gifts, to provide funds and gifts to give families presents. For families that can't afford to have their children open up gifts on Christmas morning. That's what there was already, something out there that does this for our community, and they just needed support to make it happen to more families, to support more and more families, because the need there was at a high. And it was so easy for guys to show up to the farm and donate money throughout that few weeks leading up to it, and we changed the lives of a whole bunch of families in our community that was so easy for us to do. And it was just doing it. It was just setting it up, and the support is always there. And that's what I just love so much about this group is I think guys are a little skeptical, and are a little kind of hesitant to make that first move. And I would just push for guys, whenever you have an idea, second F, third F, first F, whatever it is, don't be afraid. Have no fear. As Scott Frost says, have no fear of failure. I mean, you truly shouldn't. This group is so special that no idea is a bad idea. There may be some logistics and timing that go into certain ideas, but we will make it happen. And my hope is that more and more individuals, as I know there are so many other great causes out there, and with our group pack size growing every year, we're going to have the means to be able to support more and more awesome organizations that in return affect and create better outcomes for our community.
I couldn't agree more, man. And it is, it's so cool, right? Because you come into this group, and very quickly, guys that barely know you are ready to jump on board with a cause that you're passionate about. And, I think I haven't found another group that's like that, which is, just speaks volumes. Curious, I want to hear your perspective, because I know what it was like from my perspective, right? This guy who hasn't even been in F3 for 6 months comes forward and wants to start a new AO at some place in Springfield. I'm not sure that I knew how to even get to Springfield, right? That I had been to the county fairgrounds before, but what was that like from your perspective, kind of bringing that forward, and then just the process of, I don't know if it's getting approval in a free to lead men's fitness organization, but what was that like as you were navigating that?
Yes, no, it was, again, these conversations, I felt like maybe I got a little ahead of myself, because, I started in October, and by early December, I had my VQ at Sanitarium. And I believe I already was starting to have these discussions with Knobs and JC and Firewalker, and which led to getting Gunner and the Plague and Tater and some other guys involved. And it was like, holy smokes, like, now that I look back on it, like, I'm 2 months into my F3 journey, and I'm having these conversations about getting the approval so I can start a brand new site in a small town, completely, totally away from, most Omaha sites. And, it was, now that I look back on it, it makes more sense why there was some hesitancy from the leadership team, you guys like yourself and Tater and like, hey, who's going to come? Like, we just don't want you to fail. Like, we don't want you to start this site and guys just aren't going to drive out there. Like, having come from, to where you guys were driving to the pit every week, and you guys didn't live anywhere close to the pit, and you just didn't want to see that, happen to me. And now that I'm looking back on it, I totally appreciate that. Whereas, Knobs and Gunner and Firewalker and JC were like, dude, this dude's ready to rock and roll. He's passionate. If you're passionate about something and people can get behind you, and you've got that, that sense of pride in what you're doing, and you can connect to guys really well and pretty easily, something's going to be successful. And timing may not always be perfect, and sometimes you just have to roll with it and pray and hope for the best. And, so at the first, it was rocky, right? Like, is this going to happen? Is this not? I remember a little bit of conversation with yourself and Tater about, hey, we're going right into winter. This is usually when it gets harder and harder to get guys to come out. And, and then I know, some of, the Firewalkers and the JCs and Gunner Knobs of the world were like, well, we'll make this work. We did the same thing with the Sanitarium, and it was successful. So I know there was some different, opinions of when should we start this. And long story short, we just waited, and we finally, I think it was you and Tater sent me a text of like, hey, what? It's time. Let's make this thing happen. And within a week, I think, like the logo was created. Our boy Porloid created the logo and got the Twitter account created, and we did a pop-up. I think we did 2 pop-ups, and then we did the first launch, and it was amazing, the support of guys coming to Springfield. And I think Springfield sounded a lot further than it truly is for your Shadow Lake guys and your Titan Alley, Warner Park guys, and your Millard guys. Your guys driving just down 144th because it's such a quick drive down Highway 50, and it just, everything happens for a reason. And I'm a firm believer that timing is important, but it's not make or break. And I totally, looking back, I totally now understand the hesitation, of should we allow a guy that's been here for just a couple months? Is he going to stick it out? Like, is he going to be in F3 for the long term? Because that's the first concern with a guy that's only been part of it for a couple months. And then is the site gonna stick long term? Because you don't want to plant a flag unless you're confident that it's going to hang around for many, many years to come. And, long story short, I think everything happened the way it needed to happen, and the support has been absolutely fantastic since day one. We've had the numbers of 5 to 7, and we've had almost 50 guys there and anywhere in between. And I can't believe that it already was a year that site was launched, and now our brother Schroot's already been taking it over for a few weeks, and guys love it. Guys love Farm Friday, and the people love the coffee shop, Black Sheep Coffee, to have banana nut coffee or Campfire Dream, and people love it, and which is awesome that an extra 5 or 7 minute drive for some of these guys wasn't going to cause them not to come to the workout, which is cool.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. I'm glad to hear your perspective, and I'm so thankful for your patience. I think before that time, I don't know that we had that much pressure, and looking back, part of me wonders, was that kind of this kind of initial inkling of Sarpy having significant leaders that are ready to kind of sector, right? I mean, I think you mentioned Knobs and JC and Firewalker and those guys stepping up to really support you and bring things forward. And I'm thankful that it worked out, and I'm really glad we just went for it. I think I also, just kind of laughing to myself as you're telling that story. Remember, I queued there one time and I was late. I had to send you a text to say, hey, can you do the Warmerama? I'll be right there. And man, I don't know, our timing worked out. I showed up, got out of my car, Warmerama was done, and we were ready for the beatdown. But man, talk about hospitality from the site queue there. Yeah,
I remember that was awesome.
Yeah, I think too, it's a different site than most. I was when I was there for the shovel pass, something I really appreciated, and I don't know if you guys do this intentionally, but the doing some of the Warmerama kind of right there on Main Street, that was pretty cool. And I know when we go there for the actual county fair, pretty sure I tell my wife every time, hey, do you know what a bullpen burpee is? Because that's a staple exercise that we've done there before a couple times. And it is a really cool site. So I appreciate you taking the lead there. Curious that, as you've led and, thinking about, some of the kind of criteria or what you were looking for in a leader to take over, but also, do you feel like, I always thought, as a site Q, I kind of had this responsibility or opportunity to kind of steward guys as they were figuring life out or entering F3 wherever they were at on their journey. But anything there from your perspective? Do you feel like that's, that site Q role gave you some opportunity to really help provide guidance to other men that were showing up?
Absolutely. And not only at the farm, but just going to other places, going to other sites and planting the farm flag. And, you do feel, with having that flag in your hand and planting that it is, some extra responsibility that, this is a great opportunity and make the most out of it, because you don't have this forever. I mean, I can't believe that, the flag's already been passed on, because it goes by so quick. Everyone talks about, your kids growing up so quick, and you blink an eye and they're already in high school. And it's like, I can see that already. And that's how it happened with the flag. And, no, you do kind of feel that sense of, I need to be not only showing up, but I need to be that sense of, I'm kind of, when you are part of an organization, people view you as the organization. So if how you show up, how you present yourself totally affects F3 Omaha and F3 Nation. You know, having that F3 sticker on my truck, having that F3 sticker on my shirt, you know, just showing up to an F3 workout, we are responsible for what happens, good or bad, at any of these workouts, at any of these second F events, at any of these third F events. It's totally our responsibility how we get viewed in the community and by new guys showing up to these workouts. So yes, 100%. You know, if it was at the farm, or wherever it was, Paradise or the sanitarium or Titan Alley or wherever it was, Sandlot, Pit, having that sense of, you know what, like making these guys feel welcome right when they come out for their first workout. You know, not only welcomed at that workout, but hey, we really do hope you come back like tomorrow, or if you need to give yourself a day of rest, then come back 2 days later, and making sure that they feel that sense of hook that I got. You know, I really wasn't allowed not to come back. I mean, Tony Tyler's like picking up at the same time tomorrow at 4:45 or whatever it was. You know, I didn't have really an opportunity to not come back. And I think, you know, getting these guys out there, that's hard. But the hard part is the hook, because once they're hooked, then you're fine. Then you don't have to worry about them because they're hooking themselves in. They're building these strong bonds with these men, and you're good. But it's making sure that these new guys, or these guys that have only been here for a few workouts, you know, that you get to know them, and they get to know you, and they kind of feel this sense of like, I don't want to let that guy down. Like like I just met the guy and he's investing a lot of effort into me. Like he's running with me. He's getting to know me. He's following up with a text after the workout to see how, you know, just to tell me how much appreciates that I was there and that I'm accelerating. Like those are how you get these guys to get hooked and come back and keep coming back. And, you know, I would say that I kind of felt, you know, carrying that shovel flag, I kind of felt that obligation of I need to set the tone. You know, I think everyone needs to do it, but, you know, it just gives you that extra sense of like, hey, obligation, and not obligation, but like the want and the desire and the need to make this group extra special. And, you know, throughout the process of guys coming on and maybe missing a couple workouts and just keeping involved in their lives, because people do come and go for reasons, different reasons. And some are reasons that they do need to take some time to be gone for maybe a month or two. If it's an injury, if it's a family, personal issue, whatever it may be, there are different reasons. But I think making sure that we know those reasons and we are supportive of those reasons, those are good. Those are what's going to make or break a guy from wanting to come back when those obligations or those reasons are met. You know, now we're past that. Now that's what's going to make or break them from wanting to come back or stay not being there. And you know, when it came down to who's going to take over the farm, you know, when the time came here recently, you know, at the end of the day, everybody, majority, if not all of these guys in F3 are capable of doing an excellent job and being successful and being a leader for a site, for our community, making F3 better. There are men that are just ready sooner than others. They just have that natural desire to want to jump in and do it right away. And some guys maybe need a couple more months, or maybe they need a couple more, maybe a year or two. You know, timing is different for everybody. And you know, our brother Shrew was excelling. He was, you know, he never missed a workout. I mean, still to this day, the dude works out like 6, sometimes 7 days a week, and they're all F3 events. He tries to go and be a part of as many second F and third F opportunities. He's not your guy that is going to be out there and be in your face and be the most vocal. But he is a guy that is quiet, but you get to know him and you realize, holy smokes, where has this dude been all my life? Like, he's a difference maker. And as soon as, you know, people get to know him, they're going to appreciate what he brings to the table and what he can offer the men of F3 and just the site in itself of growth. And, I saw that pretty early that, hey, this dude's something special. He needs that opportunity to showcase what he brings to the table, to not only the packs, but to our community. And, I think he just needs that opportunity to showcase that. And that opportunity in my eyes was to lead a site and, a little bit more, get out of that comfort zone of being that quiet leader and having to be maybe a little more vocal and having to be out there. And it's been amazing just in these few short weeks that he's been Site Q, at least what I've seen, from the outside looking in, how much more, kind of more out there he is with packs, with getting to know the packs and you just hear about his name more and people are getting to know him more. And it's just, I think it's that sense of, hey, he's got that ownership of that F3 farm flag and he feels that responsibility to be more of a vocal leader within the group.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because it goes back to what we said before, right? Like how quickly you truly see a guy's true colors, and you really see those guys that like, wow, this guy can lead. He's maybe just not as vocal as others, and then pairing him up with that Site Q role to get him out of his shell and help him grow even more, and I'm excited to watch Shroot lead. I think, and to your point, it's one of those things where, like, hopefully we're developing all of the guys that show up to our workouts to be, and to our other events. We're developing all of them as leaders, and some, just are maybe ready at different times. And I think the way you outlined that is exactly how I've seen it play out. So there's other guys that are, probably ready or will be ready soon, to take on a new site or to take over a flag. And I think that's kind of the beauty of what you mentioned is kind of like, it goes by really quick, but I think some of that is just to continue getting more guys the opportunity to lead. But you mentioned a little bit engaging FNGs, and I think I liked your idea of just identifying what are those barriers, and if it's kids are young or current commitment or whatever, and then following up with them. Anything else you would offer? Just advice to maybe FNGs or just to the packs when an FNG shows up. How could we make sure those guys are getting engaged?
Absolutely. I just think more and more, it's okay to come work out once a week. It's okay to work out 3 times a week. It's okay to work out 6 times a week. Everyone has different their percentage of where they need to put their time and focus their effort in their lives at different times in their lives is ever changing for each individual. And that's what's special is, I've been, when I first started, I was a 4 or 5, at times 6 day a week guy. And, that's dropped off a little bit. I've got 2 little ones, and I've got one on the way that will be here in a month and a half. And, your timing of where you can spend and where you can put your effort, it changes, and those buckets change. And sometimes, the kids didn't sleep overnight, and you can tell that the M needs a little support that morning. You just visualize that, and you fart sack, and that you're fart sacking for the right reasons because you're helping your family out, and that the guys are there for you, and can't wait to see you back tomorrow or the next day, which is okay. And I think the more and more that we can be okay with these guys coming on, because we got to remember that we have so many sites now, and we're continuing to grow sites, that there are more and more opportunities in our backyards to go to workouts 6 or 7 days a week. I mean, between pop-ups and second half events and you name it. I mean, there's the third half events, like the Brick Builder event, obviously this Saturday. There's an abundance of opportunities for us to be part of F3 events, fitness, second half, third half. And I just think that we need to totally support FNGs and guys that have just started or guys that have been here a long time, that it's okay that guys will shift their their amount of time they can be at workouts. If they go from 6 days a week to 2 and back up to 3, or if they miss a whole week for not because they're on vacation, but just needed to take a week off, like, just support them, send them texts. Like, nothing is better than, hey, I've been gone for a couple of days. It's been kind of a more so because, work was busy or kids were sick, and to get some of these texts from these guys that, hey, we missed you this morning. Really love having you out here, Ferdinand. Like, it's special having you in the Gloom. Like, those really eat at your heart, and you're like, dang it. Like, I miss those guys too. And the fact that somebody took the time and effort to shoot me a text because I was not at a workout, meaning, that obviously they truly missed me at that workout. Like, I'm going to do everything in my power to get there, tomorrow or the next day. And it just, I think the more we can do that for all of these PAX members, FNGs, new guys, don't let them go home and miss a workout or two and not get a text, not get a check-in. And I think that's kind of all of our responsibilities now. Now, I would put a little more responsibility on whoever them for the first few times until they have a chance to get to know a more of a personal level with some of the other guys, to where that text really means something. Because that initial text really means something from the person that got them out. They obviously cared enough about the guy that said, hey, come here to this workout, enough to come. So I really think it should be the responsibility of that individual for the initial first few workouts to get them to come back and to make sure that they still feel like, hey, missed you this morning. I really hope you come tomorrow. Or we missed you this week. I really hope you come Monday. And then that just continues to grow, because then more as they come back and they get their face out there a little more with more PAX members, and more PAX members start talking to them and gravitating to them during workouts. Now you've got a bigger group that's sending those guys texts. And now those guys feel that sense of, man, these guys, they're on me. Like, I took 3 days off because kind of my knee hurt, but I need to take some medicine and get back out there, even if it's rocking or modifying the workout, because these are awesome dudes, and I can't afford not to be around these guys. That's the sense that I think everyone needs. No matter if you are the most outgoing person in the world or are very reserved, everyone needs good, down-to-earth, trustworthy friends. And as much as people will say it out loud or admit it or not, the more of those individuals that you can have in your corner, the better, in my opinion. And you get those by being around other human beings that care enough about you and your family and your community to help support you any way that you need it to become a better, in your fitness life, in your personal life, in your community, in your work life. That is truly when we're making differences with these guys.
Man, you're absolutely right, and it's something about the consistency too. I think Free to Lead references the flux of life and just these things we can't control, and so consistently being around guys so that in the event that something happens, you've got good support. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. Man, I know I want to respect your time, and you shared a ton of really good info here today just about your story, and you've definitely had an impact on a lot of guys. So appreciate you just taking time to talk through stuff today. Anything that, as we see you out there in the Gloom, that you need encouragement on? I know you mentioned another baby on the way, so congrats, but also, any encouragement or prayers that you need from guys?
No, I just say, for me, it's so meaningful, I went on my marathon. I trained for 4 or 5 months for a marathon this past week, and that my father-in-law and brother-in-law were running their first halves and their first fulls. And, we did all this training for 4 or 5 months, and you drive to Brookings this last weekend. We drove on Friday, and 20 miles out of the race got canceled because of like a really, really high wind, like pretty much tornado that went through the town. They had no power for almost 2 days, and they canceled the race. And the amount of texts and support that I got as soon as, I shared the news with a couple guys that the race canceled. Before you know it, I've got endless amounts of text messages and phone calls from the guys of F3 that are just, there for me. I knew the hard work and sweat and the effort of all those training miles to train for something like that, and then to have it canceled on you is a huge bummer. And I tell you what, that was super helpful, and that was super meaningful, because that gave me just that extra desire to still want to do the run and still see it out, and still make sure that my brother-in-law and father-in-law got their distances done, even though the race was canceled. And you know what? The next morning we got up and we ran our distances, and it maybe wasn't as fast as it would have been if it was a race environment. But at the end of the day, they can check off that they got their half marathon ran, and their first half marathon ran, and their first full marathon ran. And, back to making, worrying about helping other guys accelerate and become better in their fitness and their faith and fellowship is awesome. And it's so meaningful, and it kind of warms your heart. And to see them finish and to get some texts of really bummed that you didn't, get a chance to go at your goal, like that meant nothing to me at that point. Like even since I've gotten back, just the words of encouragement that guys have given me, I would just say, my biggest thing would be, I hope guys are doing that all across the board to all these awesome individuals that are in this group. And I just encourage more and more guys to share, be vulnerable, share the good and the bad and the ugly that's happening in their lives, and know that no one in this group is judgmental, and everyone truly does care and wants to do whatever they can to help you out and to help you, support you, and get through any things that you're dealing with. And as soon as you get to that point where you can trust these individuals, it's going to change your life for the better, and it's going to really open you up and help you become a better man, a better father, a better leader in the community.
Heck yeah, man. I agree. I'd like to think we're doing that, but definitely an area I know I can improve on as well is just supporting guys through those moments that maybe don't go as planned. So I love that. Well, let's take it out in a name-orama. I'll start us off here. Brandon Flehardy, 36, The Plague.
The Plague. Chad Anderson, 33, Ferdinand.
Ferdinand. I don't know. Do we is there a cowbell or what's the sign after Ferdinand? The bullhorns.
We've got a moo for, between Eartag and I. I don't know if Eartag and I have any difference. I throw up the horns. You can't see it obviously because we're just on a call, but I throw up the horns, and I think Eartag and him and I have the same noise, and I think it just gets louder whoever goes second in a name-orama.
Okay, nice, love it. Well, really appreciate your time, man, and again, you've had a ton of impact in the community. Can't wait to see what you do next, but enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, brother.